This is ASMR. Well, what is ASMR? Because it's a weird experience that seems to have been gaining popularity now, especially with the rise of the internet. You may have seen videos online, maybe on YouTube, maybe on Instagram, that kind of involved somebody being very quiet and maybe touching stuff and trying to create noise, some sounds, satisfying sounds with that stuff. And probably a lot of those videos include something in their description that say relaxing sounds, something to help you sleep, tingling sensation. That's ASMR. But what really is it? We see this acronym, ASMR, on all these videos, but what is it actually? What is the sensation, and what are you supposed to be feeling when you're undergoing this state of ASMR? Well, what ASMR stands for is autonomous sensory meridian response. And it defines this action. ASMR is the response in and of itself. But what is it? What are the aspects? What do each of these parts of the name refer to? Well, the first part of the name, autonomous, refers to something that is self-governing or controlled by the self. So it's controlled by the individual. So it's an individual response that can be felt only under the individual control. Somebody can't make you feel ASMR or undergo the state of ASMR, unlike a state of tickling or of pain, something like that. So somebody can tickle you and you could be forcefully tickled. Somebody can hit you and forcefully cause you pain. But no external individual other than yourself in your own mind can force you to feel the feelings of ASMR. So that's what the first part of the name, autonomous, means. It's up to you, up to the individual. The second part of the name, sensory, refers to the senses. So here we are referring to things like the touch sense, or if you're watching a YouTube video, you can't really touch anything, sight and hearing. So you're looking at this video and then you're hearing it in your ears. And those two are involuntary responses because you are voluntarily watching that video, but in terms of the response, it's an external response that you are watching and hearing. The watching and the hearing happen automatically. You don't have to force anything or do anything on top of that. No voluntary action or movement. So you don't have to rub your own head, for example. You don't have to massage yourself or anything like that. It will happen automatically with sensory organs like the eyes and the ears. So that's sensory. That's the second part of the name. Now, the meridian and meridian response will refer to the response to that sensory information, the autonomous response to that sensory information. This will ultimately lead to what is a climax in the ASMR feeling, let's say, if we call it a feeling, or a response to that video, for example. And this climax for many people is a sense of euphoria, a pleasure, a very comforting and relaxing state. And that's why a lot of people use these ASMR videos to relax after a very stressful day, or maybe even go to sleep. The thing is, though, that the issue with some of these videos and with some people that don't actually feel the ASMR response is that you also have to not trick yourself, but allow yourself to be taken by those videos. In a sense, it's very similar to hypnosis. You know, if you go into hypnosis knowing that I will not be tricked, I will not be entranced by something, you're much less likely to fall into that trance, right? Very similar is ASMR. If you are going into it saying, no, I'm not going to be relaxed with this. It's not going to work for me. It won't work. So you kind of have to give yourself up to these videos, to the sights and the sounds and what your senses are sensing, and allow yourself to be tricked a little bit into relaxing, into feeling the feeling that you're supposed to be feeling. But what is this feeling? Well, this feeling is a tingling that kind of starts in the back top of the head and kind of spreads itself down the neck, down the spine, and sometimes reaches the shoulders and a little bit below the shoulders. What it does is just relax the brain and the top part of your head and just puts you into a little bit of a euphoric state, a pleasure state. The heart rate will slow, the skin will tingle, and the hair on your arms will stand up and kind of give you goosebumps, very comforting goosebumps. In the most basic form or definition of what it's supposed to be is a response to a very comfortable and very relaxed, cozy environment, very warm, because what it inherently is you listening to sounds that under normal situations you wouldn't be able to hear. All these videos, when you see them on YouTube, anything labeled ASMR, it's a very quiet video in a very quiet room with very, very highly sensitive mics that can pick up every little thing. And most of the time, all the time probably, is these people that are doing the videos are whispering. They're very quiet. They're very direct with their words. And sometimes they kind of angle their heads to give an effect. Sometimes you're on one side of the microphone, and then you go on the other side of the microphone, and then you touch the microphone, and you create these weird environments. And the response, the ASMR response, is up to the individual that's receiving that environment through their senses, the eyes and the ears. And then you can go further. In that quiet room that in the normal setting you wouldn't be able to hear those very quiet noises, you can add more noises that you wouldn't be able to hear. So the noise of your hand rubbing on paper, or your finger flipping through a book, or the very slow movement of a stapler. I'm using a lot of office supplies, but things like that. A lot of people do slime. You know that slime, that goo that you get when you're a kid? They'll like rub their hands in the slime very close to the microphone and allow you to listen to the kind of popping and wet splattering of the slime. Doesn't sound as comforting when I say it like that, but some people, it works. It works as a relaxing technique for them. Some people in these videos also eat. They are recording themselves with these microphones eating. So you hear the of their mouth moving and chewing, saliva splatting, things like that. Things that under a normal occasion, say at a restaurant, you wouldn't be able to hear necessarily unless somebody's a very loud chewer. What it is, though, or how this works, we don't know. We don't know how the brain actually elicits this response or how it triggers the response to send out the tingling sensation down the neck and in the shoulders. And we don't know why it's isolated in those parts of the head and why it doesn't go all the way down the spine to the toes, for example. A lot of that is unclear. And it's unclear because to do tests on the brain to see how the brain responds to these videos, you'd have to have people in an MRI to do a full test of the brain. But the problem with an MRI is that it's a loud machine and it's a claustrophobic machine. And in order to feel the feelings of ASMR, as we've said, you have to be relaxed. You have to almost trick yourself into thinking that I am going to feel the things that I'm supposed to be feeling. But when you're put in that donut hole and there's clanking and machines buzzing and wuzzing and stuff like that, you lose that state of relaxation. So even if you're listening to an ASMR video or you're watching something, it's not going to work. And in and of itself, this is the reason why it's very hard to test something like this. But nevertheless, people still feel it. And for many people, it's a relaxation technique. Not unlike playing nature noises, things like that to go to sleep. Something to distract the mind and to relax it. The interesting thing with ASMR, though, is that it's weirdly based on relationships. These noises, as we've said, are intimate noises, whether they are chewing noises or noises of long nails maybe hitting a table or a glass, things like that. And the interesting thing about that I found very interesting during my research of the topic is that we are feeling these feelings the people that watch these videos, and they are understanding, their head is understanding these sensory inputs as close relationships, intimate human relationships. These sounds that come from being very close to someone in their very close proximity. A lot of these videos, the people are very close to the camera with just the microphone in the middle, in between the two. A lot of these noises biologically can be associated with the intimate response between mother and child. The chewing noises or the sound of skin rubbing on skin. They can all go back to that maternal-child relationship. That relationship that in and of itself is comfortable, warm, and safe. Now, what does that say about the world that we live in now? Because there has to be a reason why these are so popular and why they've grown since the early days of YouTube and the internet. Could it be, now I'm throwing this question out there, could it be that we are lacking some sort of intimate relationships with people that can grow and foster strong bonds? And could it be, if we assume that to be correct, that this is because of the internet, because of a lack of human interaction that comes from being on the internet, being disconnected from people, being disconnected from actual interaction, social interaction, a one-on-one interaction, communication with other human beings? It very well could be. Because when we go to something like an ASMR video to relax, we are finding some sort of pleasure in it. When an individual achieves that state of euphoria because of the ASMR video, they're responding to an intimate relationship. They are finding pleasure from that relationship. Their brain is saying, this is what we need. Because remember, humans are very social creatures. And if you've seen my previous episodes, like episode 2 or episode 4, where we deal with these human interactions, we can understand that these very communal creatures that are humans crave human interaction. They crave to be part of a society, part of a people, because that people will keep them safe, comfortable, and warm. And as we've said, these ASMR videos, that is their one goal, to promote this feeling that comes in response to comfort, safety, and warmth. And when we wrap all this up, we tie it in a nice bow, we can see how ASMR has become so popular and why it's growing and why this subsect of YouTube involves so many creators, content creators that are pushing content out for people that watch it. Millions of people, millions of views. There's a demand for ASMR, just as there is a demand for genuine human interaction. And that demand for that human interaction comes from inside, comes from our basal animalistic needs. And ASMR provides for that need. And I would have ended the episode there, closing it out with, this is ASMR. But it would be a little unfair if I didn't try to provide you with some ASMR. Maybe it would have been fair. Maybe you wouldn't, or you won't really enjoy what's coming. If you don't, that's been ASMR. If you do want to try some of my ASMR, just wait a little bit. It's coming. So, welcome to the Logues ASMR, a brand new series from the Logues that is not going to become a series, I'm sorry. Unless you want it to. It's less strain on my voice, I guess. So that's a good thing. Let's see, what are we going to do here? What are we going to touch? What are we going to feel? How about, well, all around me I have office supplies, so how about we touch some office supplies? I've got a piece of paper here. It's a nice piece of paper. most folds you can get is 7 or 9 for just a generic 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You can't really fold well beyond that because the paper gets too rigid, too thick to fold. We are on fold number 4 right now, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we try again? That was 5. That was 6. And that was 7. It is getting very tight now. Very hard to do. So we'll put that to the side. I've got a stapler here. Do you want to hear a stapler staple very quietly? How about we listen? That may have been a shocker to you. I think I'll put that to the side. How about we flip through a book? I've got a book here. Can you even hear that? I don't know. Let me try again. Was that relaxing? Let me rub the spine of the book. Okay, now let's put that to the side. What else do I have here? I have some tape. How about we try tape out for size? That was an interesting sound. Let's try it again. All right, I'm done with that. How about I tap a computer screen? How was that? I think it was okay. Maybe I'll talk some more. Whispering usually does the trick for these. I just don't know what to talk about anymore. Maybe we read a little bit. I have here Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. Very popular for biologists like myself. I'm going to read the intro to Chapter 1, Variation Under Domestication. It's just a little snippet, not all of it. Chapter 1, Variation Under Domestication, Causes of Variability. When we compare the individuals of the same variety or subvariety of our older cultivated plants and animals, one of the first points which strikes us is that they generally differ more from each other than do the individuals of any one species or variety in a state of nature. And if we reflect on the vast diversity of the plants and animals which have been cultivated and which have varied during all ages under the most different climates and treatment, we are driven to conclude that this great variability is due to our domestic productions having been raised under conditions of life not so uniform as and somewhat different from those to which the parent species had been exposed under nature. Alright, I think that's enough of that. I'm going to put that to the side. Let me put that to the side. has had enough of this. If you're still listening, you're a trooper. I applaud you. I thank you for listening this far into the ASMR. What I'm going to do now is close out the episode because I have lost track of what I'm even saying anymore. And I just don't know what else to touch. That's what she said. But we should call it a day at this point for headphone users. Just so you know, the music will be playing at full volume. So just regulate your expectations from this very quiet me to the loud outro me. So yes, it may play very loudly if you have raised your volume to listen to this very quiet audio. And as you can see, I'm rambling. So, this is ASMR. Thank you for listening to an episode of This Is, a podcast series from the Logues, where there's always an episode for that. Please follow, like, and subscribe, and listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Go and check out our merch store and get yourself some awesome swag from the Logues. You can get a transcription of the episode by listening on YouTube. And above all, remember to laugh a little.